Good morning, church family. Hey, it is Thursday morning. I was going to do this video yesterday and it just didn't get around to it. And by the time I did, there was a lot of stuff going on in the church and felt like I couldn't find a quiet space. So I'm here in my office a little bit early today and wanted to do a video. I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks. Just feeling like there's nothing for me to say. So I didn't want to force something through. But yesterday's devotional from Oswald Chambers was powerful. And I wanted to share that with you today, especially in light of the stuff that's going on. I can't tell you how many times I've seen opinions thrown around and thoughts shared, and those things are fine unless we're destroying someone else in the process to do it. It's I don't know. It's just been really tough sometimes to see some stuff like that going on, and then knowing what God, what Jesus in our lives is asking us to do. And I thought Oswald's devotional from yesterday really speaks well to what we are supposed to be doing as Christ followers. He uses Galatians 5 verse 24, which says, "Those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires." Those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. And this is what he writes. The natural life itself is not sinful. The natural life itself is not sinful, but we must abandon sin, having nothing to do with it in any way whatsoever. Sin belongs to hell and to the devil. I, as a child of God, belong to heaven and to God. It is not a question of giving up sin, but of giving up my right to myself, my natural independence, and my self-will. This is where the battle has to be fought. The things that are right, noble, and good from the natural standpoint are the very things that keep us from being God's best. Let me repeat that. Because this is our political climate, right? This is our COVID mandate requirements, right? This is every circumstance that we're walking through right now in our world. Okay, this is everything, because this can always be shared in a way that is right and noble and good. Okay, let me repeat that: the things that are right, noble, and good from the natural standpoint are the very things that keep us from being God's best. Once we come to understand that natural moral excellence opposes or counteracts surrender to God, once we come to understand that natural moral excellence opposes or counteracts surrender to God, we bring our soul into the center of its greatest battle. And then he says this: very few of us would debate over what is filthy, evil, and wrong, but we do debate over what is good. Don't we ever? Don't we ever? We are doing nothing but debating what is good. Nothing but debating what is good. Oswald writes, "It is the good that opposes the best. The higher up the scale of moral excellence a person goes, the more intense the opposition to Jesus Christ." Think the Pharisees, right? Think the religious leaders of the day in Israel. The higher up their moral excellence, the more intense their opposition to Jesus. Those who are Christ's have crucified the flesh. The cost to your natural life is not just one or two things, but everything. Jesus said, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him or her deny himself." Matthew 16, verse 24. That is, he or we must deny our right to ourselves, and we must realize who Jesus Christ is before he will bring himself to do it. Beware of refusing to go to the funeral of your own independence. He must deny, that is, ourselves, we must deny our right to ourselves, and we must realize who Jesus Christ is before he will bring himself to do it. Himself being ourselves. We have to realize who Jesus is before we're going to deny ourselves and allow God in, is what he's saying. We have to know who Christ is before we're going to realize that before we're going to deny ourselves, we have to know who Jesus is. But we have to go to the funeral of our own independence. It's essential. I've said it before. I think I heard it somewhere else, is why I used to say it. Have the funeral already, right? Then he ends with this: the natural life is not spiritual, and it can be made spiritual only through sacrifice. That's funny. Two words that I've used a lot: surrender and sacrifice, right? And this all comes through obedience. If we do not purposefully sacrifice the natural, the supernatural can never become natural to us. There is no high or easy road. Each of us has the means to accomplish it entirely in his own hands. It is not a question of praying, but of sacrificing and thereby performing his will. And then this quote from his works called Studies in the Sermon on the Mount. Oswald writes, "There is no allowance whatever in the New Testament for the man who says he is saved by grace, but who does not produce the graceful goods. Jesus Christ, by his redemption, can make our actual life in keeping with our religious profession." Jesus Christ, by his redemption, can make our actual life in keeping with our religious profession. We have to, if we're going to say we're saved by grace, there's graceful goods that have to be produced. I'm sharing this because it's important. I've said this more times than I can count over this last, how long has it been now? 17 months as a lead pastor here. July, August, September, October, November, December. 17 months as the lead pastor. 10 or 11 of those during a pandemic, during this COVID circumstance. I've said it before then a lot also, as the youth pastor here, but surrender. Surrender. And you know what? We make surrender complicated. We make sacrifice complicated. Do you know why we make it complicated? Do you know why we make them so difficult? Because we don't want to do them. When we don't want to do something, we complicate the process, don't we? Right? If you have to clean, if you have to move something, I'm totally guilty of this. I make the process complicated in my mind, or so hard that it's not worth taking the time to do, because I just don't want to do it. And we're so guilty of that when it comes to surrender and sacrifice. The new year, the series will be surrender. I'm trying not to get ahead of this Advent season. I want to process through and really focus on the different aspects and pieces of Advent and how important they are for us to remember during this time of the year. And so I'm not trying to get ahead. I just know that we're going to be in surrender. I know that we're going to be in part of Galatians to start. And we're planning on a baptismal service on January 3rd, the very first Sunday in January. If you want to be baptized, if you've never been baptized before, or maybe you were baptized as an infant or a child and you've never made that decision yourself, or maybe you've just been walking away and struggling so badly, this sort of example, this sort of public profession of this new life that you want to live is going to be helpful, then let me know. So far, we're having this because I have one that wants to be baptized. And then we talked about how and when, and we thought a New Year baptism would be awesome. And it just fits so well with the way this New Year is going to start with this series on surrender. This will be a visual, physical representation of what surrender is. And so I guess today I'm just encouraging you that wherever you are, wherever you find yourself this morning, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, whatever your opinion is about something, would you just surrender that thing first? Sacrifice that thing first? Be obedient to the Lord and pray for Him to lead you and guide you in what to say and in what to do. We need to start every day in a posture and in a place of surrender. Surrender allows us to live the supernatural life. We cannot live the supernatural life until we've sacrificed the natural. I hope that this receives you well this morning, and I hope that it kind of leaves you uncomfortable, because I'm really hoping, I'm hoping for the best for you. I love you all, and I want you all to live such vibrant, full lives of faith. And as I've discovered over my years of walking with the Lord, the more I surrender, the more I sacrifice, and the more obedient I am to Him, the better my life is. And the more that I'm able to help, the better that I'm able to listen, the more that I'm able to love, the deeper that I'm able to love. It has to come from a place of surrender and sacrifice. So take time today. Do an inventory. How surrendered are you to our Lord, right? We have to give up our right to ourselves. We have to give up our right to our natural independence. We have to give up our right to our self-will. And so I pray that today this can be a day of processing through what that means. And I say this with all the love I'm able to say, because relationship with Jesus Christ, like real, deep, authentic relationship with Jesus Christ, is really all that matters. And it is the most powerful thing that we can experience in our lives, and will lead us every day, even through the darkest circumstance. It will lead us every day in having hope, in living peace, in experiencing joy, in bearing joy, and in building joy. And it will lead to love for God and love for others, and a love for ourselves that we've never quite had before. God bless you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead.